champs! We champs! They counted your ass out. We champs! Yeah, they did! Yeah, they did! Ain't no panicking, boy. At all!
Man, it's a blessing. I thank the good Lord, and you know, my grandfather, he had a big part in this, man, and I wish he was here to see this today. But I know upstairs he's smiling right now. I know it. And Mr. Jimmy too. I know those guys, they're looking down and smiling. This year's been so hard mentally for me, but I know that there was no give up and everything worked out exactly.
What is up, my friends, and welcome to another edition of the XFL Week in Review. I'm your host, Mark Perry, editor of XFL News Hub, your alt football media guru. That you just heard, Chad Kelly. Why did I play that? Because congratulations, first of all, to the Toronto Argonauts for winning the Grey Cup CFL Championship that took place last night. Great game down to the finish. Chad Kelly with a huge play to keep the drive going. He filled in for Macbeth, as they call him, McLeod Bethel Thompson. He had injured his hand. So he came into the game, block kicks, punt returns, all sorts of exciting stuff. So the CFL finished up its season. Chad Kelly played a big part of it. Why did I play it? Because Chad Kelly was a name that the XFL was looking at and a name that fans really wanted to be part of the league. Congratulations to him, Sean Oakman, Cam Phillips, and I believe there might be a couple other guys that were part of the whole Grey Cup crew. But congratulations to those guys for winning a Grey Cup. We'll have more on that stuff on XFL News Hub this week as everybody just kind of chills from the Grey Cup and all that craziness. So not only did we have the Grey Cup last week, we also had all the draft coverage. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the draft coverage, the live coverage that we did. We didn't do a second day of coverage because the names didn't come out until later, and then we just did a video and just kind of done it that way. Plus my voice was shot too. So again, and also shout out to the writers of XFL News Hub. If you've not seen this monumental task, they go through every single pick for the teams that they covered and just let you know about every single player. So got a lot of great feedback from the league, got a lot of great feedback from agents, players, and fans alike. So shout out and props to the guys from XFL News Hub. They put in work for you. So now you don't have to look up every single player. You can look on their articles and check out the players either from draft from day one or day two. So shout out to them. They've done a fantastic job on all that stuff. Lots of research went into those things. So I'm Mark Perry, editor of XFL News Hub. If you like football, then like and subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button. Let's get this to 70 likes for the episode. Also click that notification bell so that you get alerted when new content is coming out. On this week's show, we go through day 2 of the draft, plus we've got some AAF news that kind of came out of nowhere. It was a huge, very busy week last week between Memphis Showboats coming online to the XFL draft to the Grey Cup. Now things will chill out a little bit. This is a recorded podcast. We're not live. We've got a family event to go to Monday night. So that's why we're taking care of business right now. So if you want to be part of the show, it's very simple. Email podcast@xflnewshub.com with your thoughts or record an MP3 or video on your phone. We'll play it on the episode, or you can call 888-430-7692, extension 3. If you would do so, that you can totally do that. Appreciate that. Also, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. Stitcher, Audible, Player FM, Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and of course, Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review. That really helps us out. Let's people know and spread the word about the podcast. Also, you can watch XFL Week in Review live at 8 p.m. Eastern every Monday. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, except for this Monday because we've got a family event. So we're taking care of that. Plus the holidays are coming up. So we got that. XFL Timeline. Supplemental draft early January 2023. Training camp begins January 9th, 2023. And then the season begins February 18th. 88 days until XFL kickoff. This supplemental draft is going to be fascinating to watch, my friends. I'm telling you right now, we are going to have players from the USFL, maybe some more fan control football players. We've got players from The CFL potentially, now that their season's over, even though they're not released from their contracts per se just yet. So it's going to be a fascinating draft. If you thought last week's draft was exciting, this next draft is going to be off the charts, I think. That's my prediction. If you notice, some teams only have taken one quarterback. DC Defenders only has one. Some teams have taken 4. It looks like teams are taking 3 to 4. So there's a lot of QBs out there. Brian Scott still out there. Jordan Ta'amu, we don't know what his situation is with the USFL. Could there be other names out there? I don't know what Chad Kelly's contract is. Clearly, they're going to want to keep him in the Toronto after his performance for the Grey Cup. So it's going to be quite the interesting supplemental draft, and hopefully they do the same kind of stuff as they did earlier. Also, want to point out to my friends that we have our alt football subreddit. So just go to Reddit to click on alt, just type in alt football. This is where you can get all of the alt football news. That is anything not NFL or college football, XFL, USFL, CFL, fan control football, indoor football league, all in one place. Also, if you missed out on the live stream, speaking of indoor football, so I got a chance to watch. So I did a mystery box from my team, the Massachusetts Pirates. So I didn't get to show this, but I got a cool poster that was signed. The Massachusetts Pirates documentary, watch now on Prime Video, Now or Never. This actually was a really good documentary. I got a chance. So if you go to Amazon Prime and just look up Now or Never Massachusetts Pirates documentary, it's about their championship run that took place a couple of years ago, not too long ago, 2021. This past season, I believe they were eliminated in the playoffs. I'm not sure. But anyway, I got this. So this was part of the thing that was signed that was really cool. And definitely check out the Amazon Prime thing. I also got, if you're thinking about buying, because it's merch time, you're going to get sales, all sorts of stuff. I got shorts that's got the Massachusetts Pirates logo on it, which is pretty cool. And then I got also this workout shirt, too, for the Massachusetts Pirates. So that was kind of cool. So definitely want to check out that. I watched that the other night because it's just football mood. Forget about the NFL, watching all this other stuff. So that was cool. So if you want to do that, it's going to be Black Friday. My one prediction for this week is hopefully the XFL has a Black Friday sale. I think other than that, we're not going to get anything crazy this week because it's the holidays. I think everybody's going to take a break. Then we're cranking. Then it's on basically from December 3rd on, or December 2nd on, whenever we get back. Or no, I'm sorry. Once the holiday week is over, I think it's game on for everybody in the XFL, and I think the news will be coming hot and heavy. Also, we'll talk about fantasy football later on in the program, and not only my fantasy football team and our listener league, but also News Hub Fantasy, and leagues are forming now, and I've got exciting stuff to show you a little bit later on in the program and to talk about. So, without further ado, we'll get into the news, take a break, get to your social media stuff, your phone calls, social stuff, and then we'll get into some fantasy football, XFL fantasy football from News Hub Fantasy, which we got a ton of subscribers and people signing up already. So hot to trot on that. All right, without further ado, folks, let's just get into the week that was the XFL. XFL Day 2 draft is complete. We have the full recap and results. We got 7 more quarterbacks taken. So 442 players along with 22 quarterbacks to start training camp in 2023 as the XFL completes its Las Vegas draft. The XFL completed the final day of the XFL draft presented by ZipRecruiter at the UFC Apex facility in Las Vegas, Nevada. Day 2 featured the 3 rounds of specialist selections, kicker, punter, long snapper, followed by open rounds for all positions. This followed Day 1 on Wednesday, which was broken into 4 position groups featuring 11 rounds of selections for each skill: offensive line position, wide receiver, running back, tight end, fullback, defensive backs, cornerback, safety, and nickel, defensive front 7, inside linebacker, edge, defensive end, defensive tackle, and then offensive line. Of the 442 non-quarterback players selected this week, 285 come with NFL experience, signed an NFL active roster or an practice squad contract. 273 XFL player selections came from the past 3 NFL draft classes. 171 were eligible for the 2022 NFL draft, 33 for the 2001 draft, and 69 for the 2000 NFL draft. The league's roster also includes 69 players who will be returning to the XFL from 2020, which is very cool. Following the quarterback selection show on Tuesday, XFL teams also selected following quarterbacks, with additional quarterbacks expected to be chosen in the supplemental draft. Here are the new quarterbacks assignments. Arlington Renegades take Kevin Anderson from Fordham. Houston Roughnecks take Cole McDonald, Hawaii. We all thought maybe he would be going to Seattle. Orlando Guardians, Mitch the Kid from Redlands, FCF fame. San Antonio Brahmas, Reed Stinnett. San Antonio Brahmas, Jack Cohen, Notre Dame. Seattle Seahawks, Brian Urwerk, Michigan State. And St. Louis Battlehawks, Nick Tiano from Chattanooga. League and team personnel evaluated nearly 6,000 players at XFL showcases, NFL training camps, tryouts, and via film. The top prospects from these evaluations were invited to enter the XFL draft pool of 1,700 players vying for 528 spots in training camp and 400 active player roster spots. A supplemental draft will be held in early January of 2023 for players who are not eligible for this week's draft, including players who are currently under contract with other professional football leagues, namely the NFL, USFL in particular, and maybe CFL if the league will let those players go. Their official season doesn't end until February, which is when the XFL season starts. It'll be interesting to see if some CFL players wind up released and eligible. Eligible players who were not selected in this week's draft will also be available in the supplemental draft. Some notes and notable players part of this list, for both days, 18 USFL players who were free agents were drafted per XFL News Hub Pat Ruffino. Some notable names on day 2. Taylor Russolino, kicker. Punter, Marquette King. We're excited about him to return. Kenneth Farrow, running back, also returning. And Flynn Nagel, just to name a few, returning. Also, FCF was represented with Mitch Kidd, that we said earlier, and tight end Tommy Unger as well. First pick in the specialists, Arlington Renegades select Taylor Russolino, kicker from Millsap. DC Defenders take Daniel Whelan, punter from Cal Davis. Battlehawks take Sterling Hofrichter, punter from Syracuse. Vegas Vipers select Michael Carzosa, punter from San Jose State. Houston Roughnecks select Hunter Duplessis, kicker from Texas San Antonio. Orlando Guardians select Jose Borrellis, kicker from Miami, Florida. San Antonio Brahmas select Rex Sunarha, long snapper, West Virginia. Seattle Sea Dragons takes Thomas Flesher, long snapper from Alabama. Round 2 of the specialists. Seattle Dragons select Cameron Nizelek, punter from Georgia. San Antonio Brahmas, John Parker Romo, place kicker for Virginia Tech. Go Hokies. Orlando Guardians select Tommy Auger, long snapper, St. John's, Minnesota. Houston Roughnecks, Brian Cordry, long snapper, Carnegie Mellon. I believe he played with the DC Defenders. Vipers select Bailey Giffen, kicker from Lamar. Battlehawks select Donald Hagman, kicker from San Diego State. Defenders select Eric Lawson, long snapper from East Carolina. And the Renegades select Antonio Ortiz, long snapper from Texas Christian. The third round of the specialist, Renegades Tech Marquette King, punter, Fort Valley State. Yes, he returns to the XFL. DC Defenders select Jacob Schrum, punter from Buffalo. Battlehawks Billy Taylor, long snapper from Rutgers. Vipers Adam Huguera, long snapper from Tulsa. Roughnecks Race Porter, punter from Washington. Guardians Andrew Ankel from punter from McKendree. Brahmas select Brad Wing, punter from Louisiana State. And the Dragons select Brandon Ruiz, Mississippi State. On to the open phase, which is this. The league teams can pick whoever they want. They can even skip picks, which a lot of them did because they were waiting for the supplemental draft. The first pick, Seattle Sea Dragons select Josh Sulzer, offensive line, Wisconsin. Brahmas, Matthew Gotel, defensive line from Weber International. Guardians, Jemiah Gamel, linebacker from North Carolina. Roughnecks, Chauncey Manick, linebacker, Louisiana Lafayette. Vipers, Travis Kuntz, tight end, Texas Tech. St. Louis Battlehawks, Ali Green, DB from Missouri. Defenders, Zamari Manning, wide receivers from Tarleton State. Renegades select Sean Modester, wide receiver from Boise State. Round 2, Renegades, Edmund Robinson, linebacker from Newberry. I believe he was with the XFL. Defenders, Reggie Stubblefield, the DB from Kansas State. Battlehawks, George Campbell, wide receiver, West Virginia. Vegas Vipers with the 12th pick, Jalen Pinckney, D-line, Northern Illinois. Roughnecks, Duke Ejiofor, linebacker, Wake Forest. Guardians, Laka Henry, linebacker, Mississippi. And the San Antonio Brahmers, Julian McLeod, defensive line from Wagner. And then finally, Sea Dragons, Sama Pama, defensive line from Washington. Round 3, Sea Dragons, Julius Turner, defensive line, Rutgers. Brahmas take Landon Akers, wide receiver, Iowa State. Guardians, Ilroy Thompson, linebacker, Mississippi State. Houston Roughnecks, Ben Putnam, wide receiver, Nevada. Vegas Vipers, Marwin Evans, DB from Utah State. Battlehawks, Damian Daniels, defensive line, Nebraska. DC Defenders, Jesse Anambanam, defensive line from Maryland, go Terps. And Arlington Renegades select Kenneth Farrow, running back from Houston, former XFL player in 2020. Round 4, Renegades, TJ Barnes, Georgia defensive line, Georgia Tech. Defenders, Messiah Bailey, wide receiver, Morgan State. Battlehawks, Stephen Mitchell, wide receiver, USC. Vipers, Mustigam Williams, wide receiver, Tennessee. Roughnecks, Travell Harris, wide receiver, Washington State. Guardians, Abram Holland, offensive line, New Mexico State. Brahmas, Stephen Denmark, DBs from Valdosta State. Sea Dragons, Blake Jackson, wide receiver, Mary Hardin Baylor. Round 5 of the open phase. Dragons, McLean Mannix, wide receiver, Texas Tech. Brahmas, Dejon Dixon, Nichols State, wide receiver. Guardians, Defrane McGriff, tight end from Florida State. Roughnecks, Trayvon Mason from defensive line from Arizona. Vipers, Kinnick Sweeting, wide receiver, Slippery Rock. Battlehawks, Lead Brown, running back, West Virginia. Defenders, Artavis Pierce, running back, Oregon State. And the Renegades, Isaac Natua, tight end from Georgia. Still, every team is making picks. Round 6, Renegades, Makai Drew Treadway, defensive line, Minnesota. Defenders, Simi Cobbs, wide receiver, Indiana. Battlehawks, Silas Kelly, linebacker, Coastal Carolina. Vipers, Casanova McKenzie, linebacker, Auburn. Roughnecks, Brandon Lewis from wide receiver, Air Force. Guardians, Mark Williams, DB from Eastern Illinois. Brahmas, Ben Davis, linebacker, Texas. And Dragons, Jalen Thomas, linebacker, Ball State. Now we go to round 7. Dragons, Eric Hansen, defensive line, Upper Iowa. Brahmas, Rico Gafford, DB from Wyoming. Guardians, Tyler Williams, DB from Mississippi State. Roughnecks, Kobe Kwansha, linebacker, Duke. Vipers, Nick Gugamos, tight end, St. Thomas. Battlehawks, Jake Sutherland, tight end, Moore State. DC Defenders with the 55th pick, KJ Sales, DB from South Florida. And Arlington Renegades, Flynn Nagel, returning to the XFL, wide receiver at Northwestern. Round 8, we start to see teams start to skip spots. Arlington Renegades take Joe Powell, a DB from Globe JC. Defenders pass. Battlehawks, Gary Jennings, wide receiver, West Virginia. Vipers, Luke Holloway, linebacker, Idaho State. Roughnecks, Warren Thomas, linebacker, Midland Lutheran. Guardians, Lashard Durr, DB, Mississippi State. Brahmas, John Hillman, running back from Rutgers. Seattle Sea Dragons, O'Brien Goodson, defensive tackle, Memphis. Round 9, some more passes. Guardians take Justin Rogers, DB, UTEP. Roughnecks, Trevor Allen, running back from Northern Iowa. Vipers, Rod Smith, running back, Ohio State. Battlehawks, Taneli Tupu, defensive line, Washington. And Renegades, Glenn Logan, defensive line, Louisiana State. 10, Vipers, Devin Clayton, wide receiver. Roughnecks, Mike Boykin, defensive line, North Alabama. Guardians, Kelvin Taylor, running back, Florida. And Dragons take Alex Thomas, DB from Ferris State. Round 11, in the final round, Dragons take Morgan Ellison from Southeast Louisiana, a running back. Orlando Guardians take Bruce Thompson, wide receiver, Langston. And finally, Houston Roughnecks take, with the 84th pick, but not really because people passed, Andrew Whitaker, DB from Washington, Missouri. And there it is. So there's your recap of day 2 and the results. 7 more quarterbacks taken. This supplemental draft is going to be real interesting, my friends. So stay tuned for that in January. XFL Senior Vice President of Player Personnel Doug Whaley talks supplemental draft following the draft at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. XFL Senior Vice President of Player Personnel Doug Whaley issued the following statement, quote, "Congratulations to all the players selected in the inaugural XFL draft. Together they will serve as the backbone of our league and will be the center of the dynamic football our fans will experience when teams take the field in February. For our teams, this week represents the first step in building their rosters and another step closer to kickoff. Over the next 2 months, the league will hold a supplemental draft and claiming period for players who are not eligible for this week's draft, including players currently under contract with other professional football leagues and graduates of the NFL Alumni Academy. With 422 players selected over the last 2 days, and 528 spots to fill in training camp, there are still opportunities for players looking to take the field." Notice the wording. Currently under contract with other professional football leagues and also the NFL Alumni Academy grads. So we've got NFL Alumni Academy folks because they're still working, trying to get into the NFL. And then they also have two more sessions to close out the year. Then you have NFL guys under contract. And you have USFL guys under contract. So January supplemental draft will be quite interesting. And a lot of big names came from, in the 2.0 era, came from that thing. Russ Brendan also put out a tweet saying, it's a wrap on Vegas. Can't wait for our players to take the field in training camp in January. So the supplemental draft, my friends, that is the thing to keep an eye on for January. And there could be some big names in that draft. Season tickets are officially on sale. The XFL announced the 2023 season tickets are available to purchase today. This was on the 17th. Each team will play 5 home games with regular season ticket packages available starting at $100 in all cities except for St. Louis, which start at $125. Fans will be allowed to preview their seats using Ticketmaster's virtual venue. So basically your pre-sale was just to kind of give you a chance to get your seats before it opens up to the public. The feature is currently available for 6 XFL stadiums with the Alamo Dome site currently under construction. The excitement for the 2023 season has been building amongst XFL fans, which has been reflected in the number of deposits we have already received. And we're thrilled to officially go on sale with season ticket packages for all 8 markets today, said Janet Dutch, Chief Marketing and Content Officer. After an exciting draft week in Vegas with QB selections and rosters being built out, fans can now secure their season tickets and get priority access to the best seats to watch the action this season. As we approach kickoff, we will roll out more ticket offerings and pricing options all with the hope of getting our fans closer to the game, close quote. Over 60% of the XFL tickets are priced at $40 or less, and pricing for season tickets range between $20 and $95 per game. XFL season tickets will have 2 membership levels, gold and silver, which will include exclusive benefits such as price lock for the 2023-24 season, same seat location for all home games, 20% discount on merch at the XFL shop, priority access to purchase additional seats at season ticket member pricing, and priority access to purchase seats for the XFL playoffs and championship game, priority access to renew seats for the 2024 season, priority game day access to on-field experiences. That's cool. Priority access to fan events, watch parties, fan fests, and other special content. That seems fun. And priority access to exclusive season ticket member team and coaching events, town halls, chalk talks, press conferences, exclusive content, and access. And of course, teams will play we all know the stadiums except for Vegas Vipers, though there's rumor that that's getting close to happening, and announcement to that. The XFL season, of course, kicks off the 18th. Visit xfl.com/tickets to learn more about their stuff. Ticketmaster, who's kind of stunk the bed when it comes to Tay-Tay tickets, officially ticket partner for the XFL. All 43 games of the season, 40 regular season games, 2 playoff, 1 championship across the league's 8-team markets will be ticketed by Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster, fix your Tay-Tay tickets. I'm trying to get my kids something for Christmas, some Taylor Swift tickets, and that whole thing was a debacle. But hey, XFL tickets are on sale now, so go get them right now. Hurry up. Sam just put together a list of the fan control football players that have been selected to the XFL draft. If you like fan control football and you're like me, Team 8 Okie, that's my team. I followed fan control football last year, based in Atlanta. We've had people on talking about fan control football, commercials about fan control football tryouts. Anyway, a bunch of those players are now drafted into the XFL. And it's interesting that the XFL's Orlando Guardians drafted fan control football players early and often. Let's take a look at who Guardians fans have to look forward to on their team. So Sam had spoken about the potential of FCF becoming a de facto feeder league for the XFL since the showcases began. A large group of fan control football players went to showcases hoping to make the XFL the next step in their climb to the NFL. There's no telling how legitimately these players were being considered other than those that got draft invites. Using this factor alone, it became apparent the XFL coaches and scouts seemed to like what they saw and the talent the FCF held. 11 players have Robert Ford, current Guardians offensive coordinator, who spent time with the FCF as wide receiver coach. So there is a connection between Robert Ford and 11 players on the Guardians staff, or our Guardians team. So by the time the draft wrapped up Thursday, a total of 15 FCF players were selected. But there was one team, however, that stood out above the rest when it came to the level of investment of former FCF stars. That team, of course, is the Orlando Guardians. The Guardians roster may as well be a Season 2.0 FCF All-Star team. DeAndre Francois was the first FCF player selected by an XFL team, getting assigned on Tuesday. Francois seemed to get his wish fairly quickly, being reunited with his number 1 wide receiver. In the first season of the FCF, the pair helped lead the Glaciers to the first ever People's Championship. Skilled position players on Wednesday. It didn't take long for Orlando to revisit the talent pool at round 1. 2, they selected Andrew Jamil of the Glacier Boys. Jamil and Francois are certainly familiar with each other, and that should help the two adjust to the outdoor game quickly. This pre-developed chemistry is important to teams when you're building from scratch. This is why we saw Arlington pair with Kyle Sloter and Sal Cannella with the USFL, New Orleans Breakers. In round 9 of the skills position, they tapped FCF well with 4 fellow wideout, this time selecting Patrick Smith, Tennessee State, 5'11", 195, former QB who made the move to wide receiver in college. Smith was used many ways in 2022. 2 passes, completing 1 for 25 yards. He ran 3 times for 22 yards, added 17 receptions for 260 yards and 4 touchdowns, adding 5 two-point conversion. Highly productive in college, 160 touches, 2,582 yards, and 32 touchdowns in 31 games. He adds value on special teams with 7 tackles and 38 total returns for 374 yards and a touchdown. So well-rounded player for the team there. Secondary, 2 more players DBs Mike Lee and Roman Tatum were selected. Lee is 25-year-old safety, was a second in the league in tackles with 41. He also produced 5 interceptions. Hailing from the University of Kansas, he was a 4-year starter who collected 286 tackles, 5 forced fumbles, 5 interceptions, 1 touchdown, 3 pass deflected. Tatum wasn't able to do much in season 2. He picked up 4 tackles. However, the 28-year-old cornerback is talented cover man, spent 2 years at Delaware before he got charged with assault and dismissed. In 16 games at Southern Illinois University, produced 13 tip passes, 1 interception. Also happened to spend time in the 2020 season with the Wildcats, the XFL's Wildcats. He returns to the XFL this time on the opposite coast after a short stint on the FCF's shutdown squad. Offensive line, which is a big thing that players, the XFL has been talking about, has 2 players that spent time in FCF last season. Offensive linemen and defensive units are asked to play 2 games each weekend. These units play for 2 different teams in the same day of games. This makes for highly conditioned linemen and defensive athletes coming from the FCF. Camille Matthews was one of the top offensive linemen in the FCF last season, playing for the Trenchmen in Season 2.0. Matthews established himself as a must-have for the XFL in 2023. The 30-year-old player is a Murray State alum. Matthews spent the 2020 season with the undefeated Roughnecks. After the XFL collapsed, Matthews found a home in the FCF for 2 seasons. Now he gets an opportunity to return the XFL, bet with a new team. He can recapture his undefeated ways in 2020 in Orlando. We'll see about that. Sunday Dang, a 25-year-old rookie who his first post-pro season came in Season 2.0 with the FCF. Dang was the anchor of the offensive line unit. The Block Party, I remember them. Now he returns to the outdoor game, playing just 1 game a weekend for the XFL after spending a year playing 2 games each week. 6'6", 290 tackle will turn to the XFL next to a veteran in Matthews that can help him continue to develop. Specialists. Tommy Uger is an all-FCF tight end in Season 2.0, was selected as the long snapper for the Guardians. However, the Guardians selected just 1 other tight end in the draft, instead opting to pick 8 wideouts. Uger is a former wide receiver that made the move to tight end. He developed into a very capable blocker also as a long snapper. Grouped in the offensive line unit known as the Force Field, he had a solid season, showcased his abilities as a blocker. Although he didn't use his skills as a long snapper in the FCF, he continued to work on long snapping to perfect his craft. The more you can do, the more valuable you are to the team. Also, DB Lashard Durr had spent time in the NFL's Colts, IFL's Frisco Fighters, and later FCF as well. Durr was also involved in the 2020 XFL draft. He now returns to the outdoor games after his first time in a few years. Offensive lineman Abram Holland spent 2.0 with the Fan Control Football League. The New Mexico native is 30 years old, but getting the opportunity to continue his playing career. Holland was no stranger to indoor football, playing time in the IFL's Orlando Rattlers as well. Playing on the unit as the Wall, he lined up with XFL player Jonathan Urazari. Also, this was a big one. QB Mitch Kidd led the league in passing yards and ended up being one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He would compile 871 total yards with 20 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He played with my Iokis. Kidd is no stranger to indoor football, having previously spent time with the CFI's Salina Liberty. That was a name. When I saw him, Mitch Kidd's name come up, I got excited because I'm a Team Aoki owner. So I knew that name, and he was a great player in FCF. So on the surface, many people will look at this roster as one of the weakest and least deep in terms of previous experience. Most of these teams are built with outdoor football veterans, guys who have tasted the NFL and intended to use their XFL as their launching back to the big league. However, Guardians looked to younger and less proven players from the revolutionary new league launched just 2 seasons ago. That's Fan Control Football League. This league has done a tremendous job divvying up a mixture of former NFL stars and current players trying to gain a foothold in professional sports. Several of these guys are former XFL 2020 players that landed in the FCF due to the timing of its launch. Launching in 2021, just about 1 calendar year after both the XFL and AAF collapsed in 2019 and 2020. Respectively, Robert Ford was instrumental in creating this bridge for the FCF players to cross right into XFL rosters thanks to his time with the league as a wide receivers coach. He saw the FCF was not lacking in talent and decided he needed to bring in guys he knew to build the offense. He certainly brought in a lot, and he did to perfection, building out his offensive unit with a total of 2 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 3 offensive linemen from the league he last knew. Congratulations to all players on this opportunity. So if you're an FCF fan, you're definitely going to want to check out the XFL season. I'm excited for the quarterbacks and Francois and Kidd playing, as well as Andrew Jamil, another great player in the FCF. So definitely, if you're an FCF fan, we'll be tracking these guys throughout the season to see how they do. And also, the 3.0 season is right around the corner as well. Former AAF owner Tom Dundon is sued. This is from our Andrew Murray. So last Monday, the U.S. trustee for the Alliance of American Football sued former league owner and current Carolina Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon for a sum of $184 million. The suit alleges the NHL team owner intentionally tanked the startup rather than seek potential solutions for its financial woes. Now, Dundon, in response, sued the AAF's founder, Charlie Ebersol, for $70 million. Dundon claims that Ebersol misled him in the financial state of the league upon bringing him into the league. Okay, he said, she said kind of deal. Dundon was not an original owner of the league and only joined midway through its inaugural and only season in 2019. He brought into size stability the AAF's shaky monetary foundation after it reportedly experienced difficulty in paying its players, even after just a few weeks of games. In a complaint filed by the trustee Randolph Asherow, he claimed that Dundon's reckless pullout ultimately doomed the league. Quote, Dundon and his associates dealt on their reputation and the league's trust, which they induced, luring the league into a seceding ownership and control, believing Dundon, as Dundon repeatedly told the league and the press, was committed to the league for years to come. Dundon's years to come lasted only 46 days. Instead of the $250 million financing committed Dundon had promised, Dundon and his entities used the control they garnered to force the league to liquidate after investing less than $70 million and shut down with just 2 weeks remaining in the regular season. Now, several details emerged in the lawsuit, including a claim from the trustee that the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell allegedly persuaded Dundon to buy the AAF. Interesting. Perhaps most striking of all was a piece of information coming to light that the NFL was willing to engage in a partnership deal with the AAF in exchange for 15% of the warrants of the league. Didn't know that one either. Ebersol and the league had come to an agreement with former Minnesota Vikings partner Reggie Fowler to infuse $200 million into the league to get it off the ground. That infamously fell through when Fowler was indicted on wire and bank fraud in April of 2019. This forced Ebersol's hand and caused him to turn to Dundon. Now, the only thing I will criticize, Reggie Fowler was known as somebody that didn't have money, so why trust Fowler? A quick Google search proved that that wasn't the case. So in a week, last week, dominated by alternative football leagues born following the folding of the AAF, the aftermath of the league's demise will continue to be waged in court. Very interesting things there. The fact that the NFL wanted to help out the league. There was also reports that they had other entities lined up to help finance the league and let Dundon go away, and he just wanted to put it into bankruptcy. Who knows what the deal is, but I thought this story was a done deal, but apparently it is not. We'll take a break and be back with more of your social media stuff right after this. Stay tuned, my friends. What's up, XFL Army? If you're a fan of the XFL News Hub and you have a telephone, which I know all of you do because you're sitting there playing on your phones all the time, then why not download the XFL News Hub app? That's right, it's on iTunes. It's on Android. We have an Android version and an iPhone version of the XFL News Hub app. So what do you get? You get the latest news from XFL News Hub, the premier source of XFL news in the universe. Plus, you get push notifications when we have breaking news. You will be the first to know. You can leave a comment on some of the news right from your phone. Plus, you get this podcast on your phone as well. Remember, you can leave us reviews on the Google Play Store or iTunes. It links to other social media, our other social media accounts, and so much more. Be in the know. I know you're on your phones. People are on their phones all the time. They never get off their phones. So why not just download the XFL News Hub app on your Android or iPhone today. All you need to do is go to the Google Play Store or iTunes and just type in XFL News Hub. That's XFL News Hub. Download our app on your phone today. All right, my friends, we are back. And I wanted to give you a little, before we get into our social media stuff, I know you guys are dying to learn about XFL fantasy football, aren't you? Aren't you? Well, check this out. We have some data on News Hub Fantasy. That's right. All the draft picks are now on News Hub Fantasy and will make their way to the actual XFL News Hub site, working through that kind of stuff over the next couple of days. But now we have players on the players added to the system. So also we have an XFL Week in Review Listeners League. So if you want to join and play against me, winner will get some XFL merch, just like we're doing with our Fantasy Football League. You can do that as well. So right now you can go to just email me, podcast at XFL News Hub, if you want to be part of our listener league. We did this for the USFL stuff. But also what you can do now is you can do mock drafts on News Hub Fantasy, as well as you could pre-draft. So you see, I just set up my kind of pre-draft, pick some of my quarterbacks for my pre-draft. And so those will be on your list when you draft your league. So you can take a look at our, there's different categories. You've got running backs. All of them are in the system. Here's wide receivers. If this loads, it's thinking. So there you have it, where you can do your pre-draft. And if you want to be part of our league, the XFL Week in Review Listener League, email me, podcast at XFL News Hub, and I will send you the link. And you can sign up and start playing around. And as time goes on, we're not going to draft probably till almost the end of January, just because we need to see training camps happen. We need to see leagues, who's staying, who's not, and, who's signing and who's not. But we got an early jump. So here's what the page looks like. You get league notifications. Our draft date is on the 19th, but you can pre-draft. And also on the home page, you can, let's see here. You could do mock drafts. So you can kind of see who's out there, and if you feel like doing that. Now, all this data that you do now will actually help us figure things out later on in the site as far as data goes and kind of ranking the players. So helping us out, and also just helping us kind of test the site out. So here's the main site, and we show the top players, top teams. Here's my league, but now you can not only join a league, but you can create your own league, and then you can sign up for a mock draft and play around with that too. So definitely help us out if you are playing, being part of the page there. Just helps us out. Also, fantasy football, looking for a big win against Blob Stars. I have a 71% chance of beating him. I had to use Daniel Jones this week. Justin Fields got hurt. Or no, didn't he get hurt or something like that? There's something with Justin Fields. But yeah, so it looks like we took the win. Excited about that. We'll see how things close out this week. But again, I'm only 3-7, 9th place. And Blob Stars Jared, he's 7-3. But this will be a big win for me. I need a big win, need confidence booster to get going with the league. The typical conversation stuff that we have. All right, quickly to the social media stuff. First on the Facebook, talking about Derek King getting his NFL shot with the Carolina Panthers. Michael says practice squad probably never see him. So yeah, we might not see him. He might be on a team for the rest of the season, but Carolina Panthers are going to get a new coach, I assume. So King probably would get released at the end of the season and could join the DC Defenders. That was the rumored team he would have. XFL draft results after day one. Wayne says, are Canadians allowed to play in the XFL? Of course. They are looking at all sorts of players. I'd be curious if any Canadians were taken. We'll see what the CFL, how that supplemental draft works out. David says, what did he say? I don't see this lasting. Well, thanks. Thanks for letting us know that you don't think this league will last. I was really concerned, and now you told us. So I guess we should just all quit and just give up and do something else, like play pickleball. All right, on to the YouTubes. Jesse says, where's Zavon Smith? Yeah, I was wondering the same thing too. He was out on social media like, what the heck? No one picked me up? Yeah, I was surprised about that. I wonder if there was more to that story with the USFL. These guys are connected together. They know each other. So I wonder if there was a little bit more to that story as well. J-Dove says, let us not go another second without acknowledging the Alf picture on the wall. Where on earth did you find that? Or is it an original from the 80s? Yeah, that is my Alf picture. My friend found that in a garage sale and got it to me. So yes, that is my real Alf picture. I was a huge fan of Alf growing up as a kid. So that's why my friend got it for me. So yeah, got the Alf picture back there. Cyril gives us a thumbs up. Let's see. Mike says XFL drafts a guy who missed a 20-yard field goal attempt in this USFL. So, okay. Richard says, great article talking about the draft day too. I can't wait till the season starts. I'm so ready. Now all they have to do is make sure the Vegas teams have some place to play. This is very, very true. Very, very true. Bad Gurdon says, for those players who are not in the draft pool, it would help if they had their coach or coaches recommend them if they haven't already. Some of those college coaches are of some repute, and they know some people in high places. You think if Matt Campbell, Nick Saban, or Steve Spurrier recommended a player, they wouldn't listen to them? Oh, I'm sure there's been all sorts of stuff. There's a lot of data, a lot of chatter, and a lot of... these guys are talking to everybody, so no worries about that. RR says, shields up. Talking about hey, what did you think of our interviews with DC Defenders head coach Reggie Barlow and new quarterback Eric Dungy? So I'm curious about Derek King, and I'm curious about, is Brian Scott going to land with the DC Defenders? I'm just very interested to see how this all plays out. There's a lot of good quarterbacks coming in to the XFL. All right. Finally, let's get to your emails. This one is interesting, and we'll have to break this down. So this was part of the trademarks. So Rock Renegade sent us in, hey, I've been studying this Le Fleur de Lis and trying to figure it out. Now, considering it's trademark, it's going to be used for something. I came up with a few concepts. So this image that you're seeing on the video is part of was in the XFL trademark, and none of us are really sure who it belongs to or what the deal is. It looks like a New Orleans Saints kind of thing. He said, one, hearing that Allegiant Stadium is no longer an option and that Sam Boyd is closed, leaving Vegas 2 option. Could this logo be in case Vegas turns into another place in Nevada, maybe Reno? Interesting. He says, 2, could this be for Team 9 as in 2020? No, there is no Team 9. There is no Team 9. They've already said that. 3, could this be in case Vegas falls through? I see 3 possibilities. New Orleans, the Fleur de Lis capital, Charlotte, Queen City, or Baltimore, Charm City. Oh, well, no, because they already have a team in Washington, D.C., so I don't think they would do Baltimore, though. Baltimore would be cool. That would be tough if I had Baltimore Vipers. 4, could this be the logo of their championship game? That's another interesting one as well. Only going off thoughts. I know you're a man of connections. Maybe you might get some answers. Hey, I got all 8 of the leaks and some of the logo concepts, so we got something. Eric checking in. Those are some good guesses there, Eric. Maybe the championship one. I might go along with that one. Let's see here. Jim says that I'm in for Cashman Field for the Vegas Vipers. He thinks that that's where it's going to be. Supposedly, there was an article or a couple of people connected in the Vegas sports media world have said that the XFL has a venue in place. They're just hammering out the final details. So it's not like, so they have a place. We just don't know what it is yet. But we do know we have a phone call.
Hey, Mark, a long-time listener. I normally call in and been asking about Eric Dungey, so I can't tell you how excited I was when I saw Eric Dungey was back in the XFL. Little hurt that he wasn't playing on my Renegades, but I'm going to tell you right now, I cannot cheer against him. So I'm sure you see every year when, like, hey, join this bandwagon team for him on social media. Normally it's like on certain type of memes. For this year, until Eric Dungey is no longer on the DC team, I will I'm switching from my top team from Renegades to DC because I cannot cheer against Eric Dungey. He was so huge at Syracuse. So for right now, team 1A is DC, but with a little asterisk on it until Eric Dungey is no longer on the team, and then it goes back to my regular team of the Renegades because I cannot cheer against Dungey. Man, I can't tell you how excited I am to watch him. I think he's only going to be 1 year, though, and I mean that in a respectful way because I think he's going to ball out so good that someone like Aaron Rodgers retires. I'm a Packer fan in the NFL. I would really hope they would. If Eric Dungey balls out the way I think he will, man, and Aaron Rodgers retires, I'd hope my Packers would pick him up. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day. So there's some high expectations. I think Eric Dungey could be like the Josh Allen of the XFL or Lamar Jackson. I got really high expectations for him. I can't wait to watch him. And Mark, so you got me. I'm going to join your bandwagon until Eric Dungey leaves. I hope you don't mind that. I love the interview. Loved all that. I hope you have a great day. Love the podcast. Hope you have a happy Thanksgiving and God bless.
All right. I appreciate you too, man. God bless to you as well. And have a good Thanksgiving. And welcome to the club of the DC Defenders. I was like, because my wife, we're doing we were watching the QB assignment show on the TV because we're streaming it, and so as soon as Dungey's name came out, I was like, oh yeah, awesome! And then I got a chance to interview him, a couple hours later, so that was really cool. And I'm glad you enjoyed the interview, and welcome to the bandwagon. And that's a good point about Aaron Rodgers. I mean, these teams could be looking at players, from the XFL to replace some of these older guys. I mean, you got, Tom Brady too. New Orleans Saints need a quarterback. These other teams could use a quarterback. I'd really like to see him get a shot. And I hope all these guys get a shot in the NFL. But Dungey in the XFL, especially on my DC Defenders team, but what? All right, let me ask you this: if you're a Renegades guy, what if Dungey isn't the guy? What if Derek King is the guy for the DC Defenders and Reggie Barlow goes with him? Or let's say a guy like Brian Scott who comes to the DC Defenders and he's the guy. Are you going to switch your allegiance there? Just saying. He might, who knows what happens, but I want to see Dungey play for the DC Defenders. He's my top guy. But I'm a little biased on that as well. All right, let's get another phone call.
Hey man, so I got the Grey Cup on right now. Excuse me. So yeah, I got the Grey Cup on right now, and I just thought about this. I was like, if they were to try and make an expansion in the U.S. anytime soon, I think it would be kind of smart maybe playing. I wouldn't say any more than 3 games out of the CFL season in the U.S. If they did it here, no more than 3. I think that'd be perfect. They'd see how that would work. And if they brought a team here, that would work. I just wanted to see what your thoughts on that was.
All right. Thanks for the phone call. Yeah, the Grey Cup was great. It was a great game. The CFL, though, in my opinion, shouldn't change its rules. I mean, then it would just be another football league. Just keep the rules the way it is, and that's the problem with it kind of partnering. It needs to partner. What the CFL needs to do is to expand to have a team or two in the United States to draw those American fans in. And also do what the indoor, it's going to be real interesting. If the XFL has a knock it out of the ballpark year, and the indoor football league can look back and say, this helped us, our partnership and moving players around or however they're planning on doing it, helps our league it's going to be interesting that the CFL come, they'll play the XFL will play their season, the CFL will play their season. The impact that players have jumping ship to the XFL, how will that impact the CFL? And if the CFL goes back to the table with the XFL and says, well, let's do something with trading players or something like that. The interesting thing for the CFL is their contract with the United States with ESPN is up. And they need to, I'm really curious if ESPN is going to give them more money. Their ratings have been good. Or will they, if I'm ESPN, I'd be like, we could market this thing more, but we need to have teams in the United States. If you can add 2 teams in the U.S., then let's talk. The problem with the merger of the XFL and CFL, though, is the rules and the stadium field. And I don't think the CFL should change its rules and to be another 4-down entity. I just don't think at this juncture I wouldn't mess with that at all. I would try to do other things and keep their game, because their game is unique. And then if the CFL turns into, there's so many different arguments to it, because it's like, well, players want to play in the NFL, and I don't know. I just think, indoor football, Canadian Football League, fan control football, they have a unique brand of, it's football, but it's their own little unique twist to it. The XFL, USFL, college football, NFL play the same game. So, you don't want to be the 6 other leagues that play the same kind of rules. I don't know. This whole year, the microcosm of what 2023 will be is what this past week was with the XFL draft, the Grey Cup, USFL announcing Memphis Showboats, all that crazy stuff, all that craziness in 1 week. That's what 2023 is going to be like. It's going to be crazy. So I'm glad you guys make sure you subscribe, like the channel, and because it's going to be a fun and enjoyable ride there. All right, final email. Don checking in. Call, my friend. Season tickets owners have had their chance to get their seats. My group is set and excited. General tickets are now up for sale, and St. Louis is working hard to fill the top. I need to make another shout out to Jason Ganella and Corey Helvey for going above and beyond for all their work they're going on doing with ticket sales. The draft is complete, and we are waiting for the players to gather in Arlington to prepare for the season. I was pleased with the draft. It was a very long day, and you did a great job hanging in there until the end. And yes, I'd love to see Jordan Tamu as a Battlehawk or anywhere in the XFL, and that could still happen in January. My only question is, Coach Beck was why did he not pick Marquette King as our punter? He went 14 picks later to the Renegades. That's all I got to say about the draft. Good call is the law. And come on, St. Louis, #fill the top. Don, checking in. I was surprised, too. I would love to see him, especially them kicking in a dome. But I'm glad that Marquette King is back. I will tell you, season ticket, there are rumblings out there that St. Louis might not be the top city. Now, that's not saying that the season tickets are going bad for St. Louis. They're hotcakes, but apparently there is other areas, too, that are also selling like hotcakes. So it might not be, we're all assuming that season ticket, now granted, they have a dome to fill, but I've heard that there's a couple other locations that are selling hot as well. So we'll try to get more information on that. But I have heard that. But yeah, the teams are doing a great job. And they're just building their infrastructure, still is getting built right now. I think they hold Elf as long as they can, because bringing on people is also requires money, that you have to pay for health insurance and all that other stuff. Also, remember, season tickets aren't the end-all be-all for the league per se. Like that's not where their bread and butter is made, is by season ticket holders. It's people coming to the games. Remember, they're cheap. They're not like, $300 a seat to go to an XFL game. And also, I know people criticize the CFL for its lack of marketing, and people are criticizing the XFL for its lack of marketing. But, just having people interact on social media, for example, like even if they have a strong social media team, does that translate into ticket sales and season tickets? And I would assume they'd have the data, and I would assume it does not travel. It's the games on national television. It's, getting fans in the stands and word of mouth, those are kind of things. Having funny quips with social media folks, I don't know if that translated into season ticket holders, but what do I know? I just know from my own experience from XFL News Hub that like Twitter, Instagram don't translate into clicks back to the site. That's just kind of the way it is. I've noticed that for all my sites, XFL News Hub, USFL News Hub, CFL News Hub, which had a huge monster day. I'm still waiting for the data to come out on that. But anyway, that's it for this week's show. Hey, if you're in the United States, enjoy your holiday with your family and friends. You know, life is good. God is good. And make sure, that what are you thankful for? And that will be our question probably for next week. What are you thankful for when it comes to the XFL? It was great during the draft. We had people's parents and cousins and wanting to know about if their friend got drafted. That was a lot of fun. That draft was a long day, and it was a lot of fun. And if you're bored at work and just want to turn it on for the whole time, I think you'll get a kick out of it because we also played our interviews. We played, with Mike Mitchell, Brandon Anderson. We also played with Eric Dungey and Reggie Barlow, as well as news, and just had a lot of fun with it. Finn the dog was on. I mean, what else can you possibly need than that? All right, remember, if you want to be part of the show, it's very simple. Email us, podcast@xflnewshub.com, or leave a voicemail, 888-430-7692, extension 3, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. We appreciate that, my friends. All right, that's it for me, folks. As always, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I appreciate everybody, and especially all the new listeners and watchers of the show. We have a lot of fun. I'm all about trying to, make sports fun, because it gets a little too serious. People get a little too angry and want to argue about sports. I'm about just being positive and having a fun time with sports, because sports is supposed to be fun, my friends. So God bless to all of you. Have a happy and safe Thanksgiving here in the United States, and we will see you on Monday. God bless. Mahalo, and I will see you all later.